Hey everyone! Today we're jumping into something that's, well, at the very core of programming: how to make your code actually think. We're talking about Python's conditional statements. These are the tools that let your code make decisions and react to different situations. Subscribe to this YouTube channel for more. When you really boil it down, programming logic is just human logic. We do this stuff all day without a second thought. If it's raining, I'll grab an umbrella. Otherwise, I'll just head out. Conditional statements are just our way of teaching the computer to think in exactly the same way. So let's get just a little more technical for a second. A conditional statement is basically a fork in the road for your code. It asks a really simple question that has a yes or no answer, or, in programming speak, a true or false answer. And depending on that answer, it decides which path to take. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the basics, if and else. Then we'll look at how to juggle a bunch of different options. We'll cover the really important rules and a few cool shortcuts, and then we'll see how this all works with some real-world code. Okay, let's dive right in. We're starting with the absolute fundamentals. Think of these as the first two tools you grab from your coding toolbox anytime your program needs to make a choice. First up is the if statement. It's the simplest decision maker there is. I like to think of it as a bouncer at a club. It checks your ID, in this case, is the age 18 or older. If the answer is true, the rope lifts and the code inside gets to run. If it's false, the program just keeps on walking, no big deal. But what if you need something to happen no matter what? That's where else is your best friend. The if-else combo gives you a clear this or that situation. If the condition is true, the if code runs. But if it's false for any reason, the else code is guaranteed to run. One of them always wins. Okay, so this or that is great, but let's be real. Life is usually more complicated than just two choices. So what do you do when you've got 3, 4, or maybe a dozen possible outcomes? This is where the elif ladder comes in. An elif is just a short, snappy way of saying else if. Python's really methodical here. It starts at the top, checks the if. If that's a no-go, it moves down to the first elif. Still no, it goes to the next one, and so on, until it gets a yes. It's a strict top-to-bottom process. And this example shows that flow perfectly. Let's say our score is 75. Python asks, is 75 greater than or equal to 90? Nope. Okay, moving on. Is 75 greater than or equal to 70? Yes, it prints grade B and this is super important, it stops right there. The entire if-elif-else block is done. It doesn't even bother looking at the rest. All right, we've got the logic down. Now let's talk about the grammar. Python is, well, pretty strict about how you write this stuff. Getting the syntax right is every bit as important as the logic itself. These are the absolute deal breakers. That little colon at the end of the line, that's you telling Python, hey, get ready, a block of code is coming up. And the indentation, that space before the code, that's how Python knows what code belongs to the condition. It's not optional for style, it's how the language actually works. Okay, listen up, because this is probably the #1 mistake every new programmer makes. A single equal sign is for assignment. It's for giving a variable a value, like x equals 5. A double equal sign is for comparison. It's for asking a question, like, hey, is x equal to 5? Get these mixed up and your code will absolutely break. Now, for a cool little shortcut. Once you're comfortable with a regular if-else, you can use something called the ternary operator. It lets you pack a whole if-else statement onto a single line. It's really elegant for simple, clear choices, and it can make your code look a lot cleaner. So far, all our decisions have been pretty self-contained. But in the real world, right, one choice often leads to another. So how do we handle that in code? We do it with nesting. You can literally put an if statement inside another one. So for voting, you could first check if age greater than 18. And only if that's true, you then go inside and check if is a citizen. It's great for these multi-level checks. But here's a word of warning. Don't go crazy with this. If you find yourself nesting more than 2 levels deep, it's probably a sign that your code is getting messy and you should rethink your approach. All right, enough theory. Let's see what this stuff looks like out in the wild. Here are a few quick examples of conditionals doing real work in programs you probably use every day. Literally every single time you log into a website, this exact logic is at play. It's a classic if-else. Is the password you typed in the same as the one we have on file? Yes, welcome in. No, access denied. It's simple, but it's the foundation of so much online security. A traffic light is the textbook example of an if-elif-else ladder.
You've got 3 distinct possibilities: red, yellow, or green. The code checks for red. If not, it checks for yellow. And if it's neither of those, well, it has to be green. It handles these separate states perfectly.
Now, this is a clever one. Here, our condition is actually a math operation. That little % sign is the modulo operator. All it does is give you the remainder after a division. So if you divide any number by 2 and the remainder is 0, you know for sure it's an even number. Otherwise, it's got to be odd. It's a super efficient use of a simple if-else. Okay, so let's wrap this all up. At the end of the day, conditional statements are what give your code a brain. They let it react and respond. Just remember, syntax is king. You absolutely need that colon, your code block has to be indented, and please remember that double equals is for checking and single equals is for assigning. Master these symbol blocks and you can build some amazingly complex things. Seriously, everything from a simple login screen to the complex logic that runs massive applications, it all comes back to these fundamental if-else blocks. The power to write smart, decision-making code is officially in your hands. So the only real question is, what are you going to build with it? Subscribe to this YouTube channel for more.